Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. There's going to be a few handouts coming down. I'm very nervous because my wife, who I've been with for almost 25 years, she never comes to see me speak. But we live in Toronto, but since she's from near here in St. Eustache, she decided to come down so she could play in Montreal and in Quebec. But I'll do my best, even though I am nervous now. So thank you for having me. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you all for coming out. As you may or may not know, we write an investment letter called Contra the Heard. And yeah, the returns have been amongst the best out there. We've been doing it for, almost 40 years, I guess, which is hard because I'm so young. But doing it a very long time. We enjoy doing it still. And basically what we do is we buy into companies. We hold them often for years. We're in no rush to sell. And hopefully we sell at a much higher price. I'm gonna go through the philosophies. What's being handed out now, the blue handout on the inside page, it goes through our philosophies, and I'll work them through one at a time. Do you want questions at the end, questions whenever? Whenever you want. Okay. If anybody has questions, just wave your hand. My eyesight isn't very good, so you might want to wave madly. Okay, so this way, better chance that I'll see you. So I said on the second page here, our philosophy, we concentrate on turnaround situation and stocks that are currently unpopular, but likely to regain their luster. So we are buying things that people generally do not like, but we're only buying companies that have been around for at least 10 years. So we're not buying anything new, potentially exciting. We're not buying into penny stocks unless the stocks that have been around for at least 10 years have gone way down. We're generally looking at buying into established companies that have blown a tire or two. And we've been following the same techniques for a long time. When I started doing this so long ago, I had pretty good ideas what I wanted to do, and then I learned from my successes or our successes, and probably learned more from the failures. So failures can be wonderful teachers. And sometimes you'll see people speak or on TV, and a lot of them never make mistakes. Unfortunately, I've made numerous mistakes over the years, but still, the past 10 years, the annualized return's been at 19.1%. So people always think, well, then you must have gotten more right than wrong, which even then is not necessarily true, because you can have the ones that you get right double, triple, and quadruple. So mathematically, you can play with it in your own head. You can have really good returns just by some of the stocks doing really well. We don't generally hold a lot of stocks in the portfolio. We have 15 to 25 normally. I have some other stocks outside, but it's been a good run, and I work with Ben Stadelman. I met him at the University of Western Ontario many moons ago, and then Phil McKellar joined us at 12, 13 years ago. And my son Caleb, he's been working for us for a long time, but he's smarter than me in a lot of ways. He's in Thailand right now, traveling around, having a good time, still doing work for us to some degree, but he seems to know what he's doing. Thailand's probably a bit more fun than Toronto for a Canadian. So the first rule, concentrate on turnaround situations and stocks currently unpopular but likely to regain their luster. So all of our stocks are beaten down. I will follow a stock for a minimum of 6 months before I buy in. Often I will follow that stock for years. Sometimes it can be 3, 4, even 10 years before I buy in. And I'm a very patient investor that way. Even when I was a much younger investor, I think I was pretty patient then too. But at this point in my time, I don't walk quickly. My wife can tell you that I don't walk quickly enough. I probably don't talk as quickly as most people do, but I like to think it gives me more time to think. That doesn't mean I necessarily think quickly, but I take enough time to potentially get it right. We focus on stocks that have the ability to increase in value by a minimum of 50%. Generally, I'm always looking at 100% plus, often 200, 300, 400%. But none of it is pie in the sky. It's always where the stock is traded in the past and often for a long period of time. So say, if I go back 10 years, the stock might have traded at a much higher level for 7 of the 10 years. Or it could have a graph that goes up and down. So say 3 times in the past 10 years, the stock would have gone up quite a bit. So I'm hoping that it'll return to past form. Everything I do pretty much is based on history. There's nothing, I'm not trying to make a new graph. I'm not trying to discover something that hasn't happened before. I want stocks that have really done well in the past and again have hit a hard place. So that's kind of the key. We carefully analyze corporations' financial statements, concentrating on debt ratios and book values. So I've learned over time what often used to get us into trouble was companies would have too much debt. So I hate debt. I hate debt in my personal life. I hate debt in the companies I buy into. That doesn't mean that they don't have any debt necessarily, but I want to see either that the debt has stabilized or the debt has gone down. Sometimes I can buy into companies where they literally have no debt. They've been around for a long period of time, but they still have had the crap beaten out of them. Debt is a very bad thing when you're buying into stocks. So I've learned it the hard way. Hopefully some of you will take those words to heart, but I look very carefully over balance sheets. I really want to know where the company has been. It's absolutely critical. And that is a major reason, a major focus that I look at. We analyze management's ability to achieve stated goals. So often before I buy in, I will talk to management. A lot of people think they can't talk to management, but often if you just call up the company, they will be willing to talk to you. Not always. Because I have a bit of a name, they're more likely willing to talk to me. Sometimes I'll go and meet with management. I like to get a better idea of the people involved in the company. By getting an idea of those people, I have a better sense of how the company might succeed or might not. I mean, I've seen companies present, and I just listen to those people and think I would not want to get close to those people, plain and simple. And that's maybe a bit of a sixth sense because I've been doing it for so long, but I want to buy into a company where I have confidence in the financials and I have confidence in the people who are leading that firm. Simple, eh? Nothing to it. I often pick takeover candidates well before takeovers occur for near optimal returns. So if you go to our website, contratheheard.com, so CONTRATHEHEARD.com, it goes year after year, all the takeovers that we've had. And given that normally in the portfolio there's 15 to 25 stocks, we've had an outsized number of takeovers. And takeovers are almost always where you make the big money because they're almost always done at a nice premium. So sometimes 15% higher, sometimes 20% higher, sometimes 50%, sometimes more. And sometimes you can get a clue that there might be a takeover because management will be saying, yeah, we're thinking about it, we're thinking about being acquired. And again, the odd time it happens, the company gets taken over at a lower price than where it's trading, but that is very, very rare. Almost always, again, it's a lovely premium. So sometimes what I'll see is a company is talking about maybe being taken over at some day, and then nothing happens. And then 2 or 3 years later, it still hasn't traded up, and that's when I'll often be buying in. Because some of these things, a bit like a gestation period. I like to use the word gestation. I don't use it enough. I have a bunch of words that I do like to use at certain points in time. After this, when you go home and think about my presentation, if you remember nothing else, I'd like you to remember the word gestation. So there's a gestation period. And so I'm waiting for that period. I'm waiting to buy into those companies. We normally sell a minimum of 50% of a stock upon achievement of our target, while market timing the remainder. Whenever I buy a company, I set a sell target. Always. What I find that does is it grounds me. So it's very important for me to do that. Otherwise, it's too easy to flip-flop. So I don't always sell at the sell target, but normally I sell at least 50% around the sell target or past it. Again, it takes a while to achieve the sell targets because, as I said before, they're so much higher than where we buy in. But we always set that. So if you look at the contra that you have there, take a look at the center spread. So go to the center page. So this is companies we owned in 2017. You'll see the year that we bought them, the purchase price, the current price as of when this came out, and initial sell target. And if you look at one like Adjunction, the first one, we bought it at 66 cents. The initial sell target was $2.49. Alaska Gold, we bought it at $2.01. The initial sell target was $6.44. Again, that's no pie in the sky. And a friend of mine who was a stockbroker, he was an old codger when I met him. I was the young buck, so to speak. He looked at our first investment letters and he said, Benji, your sell targets are so far from your purchase prices. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I said, well, David, again, this is where the stocks have traded over time. When we got together and had lunch about a year later, he said, yeah, looking at it now, the sell targets make a lot more sense. And I said, David, the sell targets haven't changed. The stock prices have moved. Again, those sell targets are all historically based. There's nothing that I just, pull out of a drawer or anything like that. And I think it's very wise when you buy into a company, are you going to tell me when there's like 5 minutes left or something?
8 minutes.
Only 8 minutes left? Holy shit, I should have been talking faster. Okay. So, we advocate diversification. One thing you won't see a lot of people do is talk about over-diversification. People can have too many stocks. Again, I like to have 15 to 25. I will have more sometimes. But you don't want to over-diversify because then the stocks play against each other. So there's a balance between diversifying and over-diversifying. We're independent of any broker, a corporation, or financial institution. Ben Statham, and again, who I met at Western, Phil, my son Caleb. We're not tied in with anybody. Certainly, I get information from them because I'm gathering information for a lot of sources, and they seem to be quite happy to be when I talk with them. We put our money where our mouth is by notifying readers of the Contra the Heard investment letter only of stocks that we actually buy. So we buy them, we tell people, we say this is the price we paid, here's why we like it, here's why we do not like it, here's our initial sell target. And we're always very clear on why we don't like the companies. To us, that's exceedingly important. We limit our readership to 1,000 people. We're under 1,000 now. At one point, we had 1,000. We'd like to get back to 1,000. Hopefully, that'll happen. Appreciate stocks that pay regular dividends. A lot of people think because we're contrarian, we don't like dividends. I love dividends. At least half the companies that I own pay dividends. If I can get 1, 2, 3, 5% dividend, what I like to say is dividends allow me to be stupid longer because I'm getting a payout while I'm waiting and maybe the stock's going down. And so dividends are really something that I appreciate. As I said, a lot of the stocks that we own do indeed pay them. Acknowledge your responsibility to help those who are less fortunate. My business partner, Ben, and his family are doing pretty well. You know, Pascal, myself, and our 2 lads seem to be doing pretty well. And we're doing well enough that we have a place in Saint-Donat, although that was thanks to Pascal's dad. We love coming to this province. Yeah, it's really good. So should I open it for questions now? Okay, we're going to open it for questions now. Often I talk for like an hour. No. Go ahead.
So when you buy beaten down stocks, there must be something wrong or something that appears wrong to the market about these companies. How do you mitigate what prevents you from buying something that's permanently impaired?
It's a great question. Unfortunately, sometimes we buy things that are permanently impaired. I bought certain stocks that, I buy them, wait, and they go effectively down the toilet. Because we wait after we buy it, and because we're so focused on the numbers and talking to management, and I like getting opinions of other people. I said Ben, Phil, my son Caleb, but it's not a perfect system. We make mistakes. We always will make mistakes. I certainly make a lot less than I used to. But a key thing is, as I alluded to, by buying into things that have been around for a while and by following for quite a while, there's less of a chance that we'll make a mistake. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So you said if one was to offer about 6 months to a year, during that period when you're following the stock, what are you looking for exactly?
Okay, it can be a lot more than 6 months to a year, 6 months minimum. It can be years. Often when we discover a company because the price is beaten up, it means there's certain difficulties right there. I'm trying to look for a certain amount of stabilization, trying to understand the company better. Because with each company, there's a lot of moving parts. So I'm just gathering more information. Our people, so to speak, are gathering more information. It's hard to know the companies inside and out, even if you've been following them for a while. But often it's not necessarily the big things that speak to me. Often I notice some really small things that management says. I do listen to conference calls, and maybe they say something, and it just twigs something in my little brain that says, okay, this is important to know. And it can really vary. Because even if I follow the company and look at things, by listening to them, there's more information that can come out. Yes, sir.
So you've been doing this for many years. I just want to know how has your strategy evolved over time? Has it?
So how has the strategy evolved over time? It certainly has. A lot of it has evolved because of the mistakes that I made. I think I'm more patient now when investing. I'm more wary of the problems. When I started 40 plus years ago, I hardly ever made mistakes. I was much smarter then. I knew a lot more, but as time has gone on, I realize, that there's a lot I don't know. If any of you want confirmation of that, talk to Pascal after this and just say, so, what doesn't he know? And she'll tell you. She'll tell you all kinds of things. But it has evolved, and I've learned to be more patient over the years. The books that I have here, 2 of them are stock books, and one's a business book. Everything on the table is a bestseller. So I'll be selling those afterwards at $20 each. If you want, I'm happy to sign them for you. Some people say that might actually devalue the book, but I don't want to go there right now. I'm on vacation, But yeah, things have certainly changed over the years now. The system evolves less now than it used to. And I'm always looking for more information. I consider that, to be critical. I've written 5 plays that have been on, and my old production partner said, the production company was called Open Mind Productions. Open up your mind and see what might drop in. Anyhow, it's important to keep an open mind. Absolutely.
One last quick question.
Yes, sir.
Your specialty has always been kind of finding these down-broken companies, but when you're lucky to find like a gold mine, take the ATS automation, your list here, I think it was $7 at the time, and a new management team come in, that stock's being a huge winner. How do you keep winners that end up performing well versus wanting to recycle and do broken companies? How do you manage just trimming your winners or you stay patient?
Well, I trim the winners because of the initial sell target, usually around there.
And how much would you sell the initial sell? 10%, half?
Oh, usually a minimum of half. Yeah. Again, I know how often I make mistakes, so I want to take half off the table. Usually, again, I could take 100% off the table, or 75%, but usually half. That still leaves a fair bit riding on the table. But yeah, a minimum of half. And again, because the sell target is there, it grounds me. So that's very important. So did you say that was like the last question? Okay, so I'm going to hang here after. Anybody wants to buy a book, happy to sell them. If you just have more questions, happy to answer more questions. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out. And after this, we're going to go out to dinner, eat oysters, and enjoy your city. Thank you very much.